And as you begin to breathe here in your child's pose, I encourage you to think about sending your breath into your lower back area. So child's pose, we're starting here today because this is a great release for the lower back area of the body. And you can use your breath to get even more from this posture if you imagine that as you inhale, your lower back is what is inflating with air. And then as you exhale, you're softening into the lower back, letting your tailbone root even further down toward your heels, and just sort of softening into this posture a little bit. So let's take 3 nice deep breaths here in our child's pose, really focusing on the lower back. One more deep breath. And now from here, we'll slowly make our way up to a table pose, coming up to all fours. Pulling your wrists directly underneath your shoulders and knees right under the hips, so you have a nice balanced table pose here. On your next inhale, send your belly button down, lift your gaze for cow pose. And then exhale, tuck the tailbone, round the shoulders, bring the chin to the chest for cat. We'll take a few more rounds just like that, beginning to coordinate the movement of the body with the rhythm of our breath here. So inhaling to drop the belly down, and exhaling to round through the spine. Taking one more full breath cycle here. And then making your way back to a neutral spine, finding a nice long flat back here in your table pose. Keep your right knee connected to the mat. Maybe shift it toward the center of your hips just a little bit for balance. And then send your left leg back behind you with the toes tucked under. Take a little pulsing motion here, pressing back into your left heel, feeling a stretch through the left calf muscle and maybe coming all the way up through the left hamstring, one of our other focus areas for the day. If you're feeling any sensation in the wrists or the hands here, you could always lift up to fists, and that will help take some weight off of your hands. Drawing the left knee back down toward the mat now. Bring your knees and your feet together. And then sit your hips back toward your heels once again. Coming into shell pose this time. A little different stretch for the lower back. You're welcome to keep your hands out in front of you, or if you'd like a different variation, maybe you pull your arms in on either side of your low body and let your head come all the way down toward the mat. You could even tuck your hands, your fingertips, underneath the tops of your feet, really curling and rounding your spine into this nice compact shape. And again, opening through the lower back. One more deep breath here. Lengthening the arms out in front of the body if you haven't done so already. We come up to our table pose and moving right to our calf stretch on the second side. So left knee is going to stay down. You can shift it a little bit to the center for balance. And then send your right leg back behind you, toes tucked under. And we'll take that little bit of a pulsing motion, sending energy through the back heel, saying hello to the right calf muscle and maybe the right hamstring. You're welcome to come up to the fists again, or if you want more of a wrist stretch this time, you could turn your fingertips either part way or all the way back toward your knees, and then continue your pulsing motion and get a nice opening through the forearms and the wrists. Bringing the right knee back down to meet the left. This time we're going to walk the hands back toward our knees and coming up to a standing on the knees position. On your inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. And then as you exhale, cactus your arms. Bring the elbows to 90 degrees. Shine your heart open up toward the sky. Inhale, lengthen the arms up, stack the spine. Exhale, bend and open. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, open. This time we inhale, reach up to the sky. Exhale, take the hands down to the mat in front of you. Step the hands a bit more forward and we'll come to our first downward facing dog. Tucking the toes, lifting your hips up toward the sky and finding this triangle shape in the body. Once you're here, take some free movement, pedaling the feet. You can shake the head out a little bit, shift forward and back. Anything that feels good to awaken your body here today. And if at any point down dog is not feeling like it suits you for whatever reason, you can always come back to child's pose, that very first posture we did with the knees down on the mat. It's a great modification here. Finding some stillness now in your downward facing dog. On your next inhale, take your gaze in between your thumbs and then exhale, slow walk. Bring your feet all the way up to that space, coming into a forward fold. Bend the knees as much as you need to here to let the weight of the upper body hang all the way down. We'll grab for opposite elbows, finding our ragdoll pose, and take a little sway from side to side. Now, when we're talking about opening through the lower back and the hamstrings, ragdoll is really the MVP for a class focused on those areas. So take some time here, use your breath, really settle into the posture, and notice how your lower back and how your hamstrings are feeling today. You might begin to bring a little more length into the hamstrings by playing with lengthening one of your legs while you bend into the other, and then switching to the other side. But there are lots of options, lots of free movement that you could take in this pose, so I encourage you to just play with it and find what feels good for you here. We'll take another 3 breaths. Let your arms come to a dangle. Bend deeply into your knees and start to roll one vertebra at a time all the way up to stand nice and slow. Head comes up last. When you get to the top, roll your shoulders back and down, standing tall in our Tadasana mountain pose. Make sure you're standing up toward the top edge of your mat, and we'll take one sun salutation here together to start to build some heat in the body. So on your inhale, reach your arms up to the sky, stand tall. Exhale, soften your knees and fold forwards once again. On your inhale, lift the spine halfway. Drag your hands up to your shins, find a flat back. And then exhale, roll back down to forward fold. Plant your hands to the mat. Step your feet back to your plank pose of choice. Remembering that anytime we're in a plank, knees can always come down to modify. The important part is that your core is turned on, belly button hugging in toward the spine, sides of the waist wrapping in toward the center. Take one more big inhale, press the mat away. Exhale, hug the elbows in by your sides as you lower all the way down to your belly. Untuck your toes at the bottom and take a moment here to really press the tops of your feet down into the floor. You might feel your kneecaps lift away from the mat, and that signals that your legs are activated, the quads are working here. We're pressing the feet down with energy. Keep that energy going in the low body as you pull your chest forward and up on the inhale. Hover your hands, baby cobra. Exhale, roll back down with the chest. And we take that twice more. Press the feet down, inhale, lift, hover the hands. Exhale to release. Really squeeze the shoulder blades together. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. And press back to child's pose. Knees wide, toes together. Take another deep breath here to soften into the low back. And then you're welcome to stay or meet me in your downward facing dog. From down dog, we'll take an inhale, gaze between the hands. Exhale, walk to the top of your space. Find your forward fold once again. Inhale to lift the spine halfway. Find your flat back. Exhale, release it down. Inhale, rise all the way to stand. Take the arms overhead at the top. And on your exhale, pull the palms together. Press them in front of the heart with lots of energy. Good. Release your arms down by your sides. Shake it out a little bit. You could grab a sip of water or maybe a sip of coffee if you're doing this in the morning like I am. And then when you're ready, we'll reset here in our Tadasana mountain pose, standing tall at the top of your mat. Take a moment to really root your feet down into the floor. Keep a little bit of a bend, a little bit of playfulness in your knees here. Spread through the collarbone, broaden through your chest, proud upper body, shoulders are relaxed. We'll get into our sequence now, starting with an inhale as we reach up toward the sky. Exhale, bend your knees and fold forwards. Inhale for your halfway lift. And exhale, take your hands down to the mat. Now you could choose to move through a vinyasa here, or you could step right back to downward facing dog. If you want the vinyasa, we're gonna move through our plank. Big inhale at the top. Exhale down to your belly. Inhale, lift the chest and shoulders. And then exhale, come back to downward facing dog where we all meet. Good. Now from down dog, I want you to step your left hand a little bit closer to your right hand. Try to stay balanced here, but we're moving the left hand towards center, creating space to take a big step forward with our left foot. And the left foot is gonna come to the outside of our left hand or left wrist area. You can always use your left hand to help that left leg up a little bit. And then once you're in your lunge, take your back knee down, untuck your toes. This is an opportunity to use blocks underneath the hands to give you a little bit more length through the spine. So this is one of those poses, lizard pose, that it's often nice to have a little extra space. But if you're not on blocks, you can always come up to your fingertips or fists to lengthen through the arms a bit more. Now I'd like you to inhale, really pull your chest forward, lengthen through the spine, send the hips down. And then as you exhale, send your hips toward your back heel and begin to lengthen through your front leg for half split. And we'll take that flow a few times here. So inhale, pull the chest forward, hips come down. Exhale, send the hips back and fold. The next time that you come forward to your lizard pose, go ahead and stay there. Your left toes can angle out toward the top left corner of your space, and then try to sink into your hips even a little bit more, saying hello to the left and right hip flexors here in our lizard pose. We're gonna stay here for a few breaths, and you have options. Option 1 is just to keep both hands rooted to the mat as they are. Option 2 is to step your right hand a little bit wide and then send your left arm back toward the back of the room, adding a little bit of a twist here as you open through your chest. If you get that far and you're still feeling good, you might go for a quadricep bind, bending your back knee and seeing if you can catch your foot with your left hand. Wherever you are, try to continue sending the hips forward and down. If you have the space to bend your elbow and pull your foot even closer to your glutes, feel free to do so. That rooted hand could be on fingertips, fists, or a block. One more deep breath where you are. If you have the bind, gently release. Take both hands down to the inside of that left foot. Tuck your back toes now, lift your back knee, and start to wiggle your left foot back into the center so that you now have one hand on each side of your left leg. We're moving into a runner's stretch here, so start to lengthen through your front leg. Could be just a little bit or could be a lot. Send your left hip back and your right hip forward. So you're really starting to lengthen through the left hamstring, keeping the hips square to the front of your mat. Let the weight of your head come down toward your front chin. This is another great place to use blocks, bringing the floor a bit closer to you. Maybe you choose to take this a little bit deeper by flexing your front foot, lifting your front toes and just balancing on the front heel. And again, everything is an option. If you get that far and you're feeling good, maybe you level this up by bending into your back knee and sending your hips back. Wherever you are, breathe into your left hamstring. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Send the weight forward into your front foot. Step your hands down on either side, and we'll take a big step back into our plank pose, meeting with a nice strong core. Knees down or lifted, you choose. Take a big inhale. Exhale, hug the elbows in, lower down to your belly. Inhale, lift the chest and shoulders for cobra pose. Exhale, press back to downward facing dog or child's pose if you prefer. We'll take a nice reset breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, really let it go. Stepping your right hand now a little bit closer to the center, creating space so that we can step that right foot all the way up into our lizard pose. Use the right hand to get it there as needed, and then take your back knee all the way down, untucking your toes. You can lift to your fingertips, fists, or blocks here to create some length through the spine, sending your chest forward and your hips down. Take a big inhale where you are, and on your exhale, send the hips toward your back heel. Begin to lengthen through your front leg for half split. Inhale, pull the chest forward, lizard pose. And exhale, send the hips back and lengthen. We'll take this flow a few more times here, moving at your own pace. One more full round. The next time you come forward to your lizard pose, go ahead and stay there. Angle your right toes out toward that top right corner. See if you can sink your hips down a little bit further. Yeah, say hello to the hips here. And of course you have options. So again, both hands can stay down on the mat. You can just breathe and stay. If you want to add on, we're going to step the left hand wide and then sweep the right arm toward the back of our space, opening through the right shoulder, adding a bit of a twist. Option to stay here or take a bind, bending your back knee, seeing if you can catch your back foot. Wherever you are, continue to sink the hips forward and down. If you have the space to do so, try to bend your elbow, pulling that heel even closer to your glute. Hello to the left quadricep if you're taking this variation. Breathe. One more full breath here. And then slowly release the bind if you have it. Take both hands back down to the mat. Tuck your back toes, lift the back knee, and then wiggle your right foot back into the center, framing it with one hand on either side. We're coming next into our runner's stretch, beginning to lengthen through the right leg, maybe a little, maybe a lot, lifting your hips and letting the weight of the head come down. You can step your hands to any position that feels most supportive for you here, and that might include grabbing blocks if you have them. There are, of course, always options to add on. Before we do that, though, check and make sure that you're pulling your right hip back, sending your left hip forward, really squaring off the hips here toward the front of your mat. Then, maybe you flex through your right foot, lifting the right sole of the foot up, balancing on the heel. If you take that option and it still feels good, you might bend into your back knee and start to shift your hips back. Wherever you are, breathe into your right hamstring, lengthen through the right leg for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Send the weight forward into your front foot. Step your hands down on either side. We take a big step back with the right leg, meeting in our plank pose. Strong core. Take a big inhale. Exhale through your chaturanga. Inhale, lift the chest and shoulders, cobra pose. And exhale, come back to downward facing dog. Nice work, everyone. Take a nice big inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, really let it go. And in your down dog, take a moment to notice how your hamstrings are feeling after the stretches that we've taken together. Hopefully, even in this short practice, you're noticing that the hamstrings are starting to feel a bit more open, a bit less tight. We're going to continue working on that goal as we come down to a seated position on the mat now. So please meet me in a seat. And you can swing your legs around so that they're out in front of the body, shifting forward on your mat to make sure you have space to come all the way down to your back. Don't go there yet though, because we're going to get there the hard way, of course. So your feet are planted in front of you, knees are bent, hands are attached to your kneecaps. And you're going to use the hands here to really pull your chest forward, find a long spine. Engage your abdominal muscles, hug the belly button in, keep the core nice and strong so that you can hold the spine as it is while lengthening your arms straight out in front of you. Take a big inhale to prepare. Exhale, rock back on the tailbone and roll one vertebra at a time as slowly as you can, all the way down to your back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. When the shoulder blades finally touch down, hug the knees into your chest, hands on kneecaps once again, and we'll stir the knees. So drawing a circle here with your kneecaps in one direction, circling the knees and hips and feeling a nice release in the lower back as you massage the low back into the floor beneath you here. Maybe you even close down your eyes so that you can really focus on the sensation that you're feeling in the spine. Go ahead and circle the other way now. Return your focus to your breath. Big inhales and big exhales here. Draw the knees back to center. Keep your left knee hugged into your chest. Plant your right foot down onto the mat. Start to lengthen your left leg up toward the sky with a flexed foot. And you can bring your hands either behind your hamstring muscle, or you could reach up for your calf and then soften your shoulders back down for a little deeper stretch. Try to press your left leg toward straight. It's okay if it doesn't get there today, but that's the goal that we're working toward. Keep your left foot nice and flexed. Good. Bend your left knee back in toward your chest. And now take your left hand to your left knee. Lengthen your right arm away from the body. And then we're going to drag the left knee out and up toward our left armpit. So we're taking a hip opener here. Maybe you let your right knee drop open toward the right side. So it's like your right leg is almost in a half butterfly position, and your left knee is hugging in and up. From here, we're going to trade hands. So I'd like you to pull the left knee back through the center. Bring your right hand to your left knee. Lengthen your left arm away from you. And then drag your left knee across the body, coming into a spinal twist position. Now, hopefully, your right knee is already there for your left foot to rest on top of. So you're connecting left foot to the inside of the right knee. If you would like to make this pose deeper, you could lengthen your right leg all the way down toward the top edge of your mat there. That's going to take away the support from your twist and make it a little bit more intense. So you choose what feels good. Once you're there, draw your gaze over your left shoulder. So your head is going in the opposite direction of your knees here. Soften into the twist. We'll take 3 deep breaths. Bring your gaze back up straight toward the ceiling, and then hug your knees back in toward the midline. We'll bend both knees into the chest, give them a nice big squeeze here to reset the spine. Keeping your right knee hugged in now, plant your left foot down onto the mat. Slowly start to lengthen your right leg up toward the sky. Taking your hands behind your hamstring muscle, or maybe reaching up toward the calf, and then softening your shoulders back down toward the mat. Really flex into your right foot. Draw your toes back toward your shin as you begin to press the right leg towards straight. Slowly bend your right knee back in toward your chest. Take your right hand to your right kneecap. Lengthen your left arm away. And then pull your right knee out and up toward your right armpit area here, coming into a hip stretch. Maybe you let the left knee fall out toward the left side, that sort of half butterfly position, and breathe. Pulling the right knee back towards center, we'll do a little hand exchange, bringing your left hand to the right knee, right arm reaches away from you. Drag the right leg across the body now, coming into your twist. Maybe you land the right foot on the inside of that left knee for some support, or maybe you lengthen the left leg away for a little bit deeper twist. Wherever you end up, do take your gaze out over the right shoulder if comfortable, so that your head is in the opposite direction of your knees, really completing the twist in the spine. Soften into the posture. Relax your face and your jaw. And breathe. Return your head back to the center, knees back to the center as well. Hug both knees in toward your chest for a nice big squeeze, reset the spine. And we'll end our practice today with a happy baby pose. So drawing both knees now out toward your armpit regions. Really stamp your feet flexed up toward the sky. And you could bring your hands behind your kneecaps. You could bind your peace fingers around your big toes, or you could reach your full hand for the outer edges of your feet. Whichever variation you choose, take a moment to root your lower back down onto the mat. A lot of times here we like to lift our back in order to get our knees closer to our chest, but we'll actually get a bigger stretch in the areas that we're trying to target here if we root down through the low spine, send your tailbone toward the far edge of your mat, and then with those points of contact, then you can start to deepen the bend in your knees. Maybe you choose to rock from side to side a little bit. You could lengthen one leg and then the other, taking advantage of that hamstring opening that we've been working on. Evening out your sides with any one-sided movement that you've taken. And when you're ready, we draw the knees back into the chest one more time, giving them a nice big squeeze, hugging everything in, lifting the forehead up toward the knees and squeezing into the tiniest shape that you can make with the body. Even the muscles in the face are squeezing in tight, tight, tight. Take a big inhale. Exhale, release all the way down to a final resting pose here. Extending the legs long, letting the arms fall open on either side of you. Close down your eyes. Settle in for our last few breaths here. If you have the time to do so, I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as you possibly can. But if you are ready to join me in the ending of our practice, you can start to reawaken the body with some small movements in the fingers and the toes, the wrists and the ankles. Slowly making your way to a fetal pose on one side, rolling to the side of the body, supporting your head with your bottom arm. And then using your top hand to press into the mat, we'll start to make our way back to a seated position. No rush to get there. And sitting nice and tall in a position that's comfortable for you, we'll close our practice together today with a final breath. So on your inhale, reach out and up, gather the energy from your space. On your exhale, pull that energy into your heart to take with you into the rest of your day, your week, your month, your life. Thank you so much for joining me on your mat here today, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.